Welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast. This is Devin Crosby of Lynn University. Leadership is a dynamic occupation that requires vision, excellence, but most importantly, the humility to serve your people on a daily basis. As you lead, make sure to become grounded in something greater than yourself. This will shape your decisions, provide clarity to your team, and cultivate trust. And trust is the foundation of success. Enjoy the podcast.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast, where we highlight executive and organizational leadership. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at 1Q Leadership. Our guest today is Gene Smith. Gene is the Senior Vice President and Athletics Director at Ohio State. Greetings, Gene. Thanks for joining us.
No problem, Ty. I look forward to the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Now, Gene, I'm happy to have you on your 16 years at Ohio State. You spent time leading the departments at Eastern Michigan, Iowa State, and Arizona State. Been in the AD chair for roughly 34 years. And then if you include your time as a football coach, you've been in the business of college athletics for over 40 years. So you're essentially an elephant in the profession, right? People know you. You have developed other leaders. And I'm excited to talk to a veteran such as you on the podcast.
Well, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. I really enjoyed my years in higher education and athletics, so it's just a blessing.
Of course, I've known you for a while. I met you a long time when I used to volunteer with Dutch at the Institute and at the annual meeting, and I've always had a healthy respect for you. And I think Coach Taft talked to you a few times when I was working back at the American Football Coaches Association and trying to set some things up. So what's interesting about the industry we're in, sports or college athletics, football, whatever it is that there's a lot of transition, and you've weathered a number of storms. I mean, in this industry, we've seen people let go for making the changes they were hired to make. We've seen people let go for hiring who they thought was the right football coach for the athletics program. We've even seen people let go after being publicly disrespected by their high-profile basketball coach. There are a number of different reasons why the finickiness of college athletics, right? People make a decision in a moment. I've even been fired from the AFCA, which once that happened, I called all the coaches I know and said, hey, I know what you've been through. I'm right there with you. So, but in terms of you weathered a number of storms and transitions. I think 3 or 4 presidents during your tenure at Ohio State. And there's a level of institutional trust needed for a school to stick with someone in terms of college athletics through the ups and downs that we all see in the college athletic industry. I wonder about how you established over the years that institutional trust that they believe you are the one necessary to lead the program.
Well, that's a great question, and it's a challenge. It's not easy. First and foremost, you have to gain credibility and respect throughout the institution, the community that you serve, which includes your student athletes, coaches, and fans and donors, by one, being consistent in how you handle things. I stay true to my values, try and operate as transparently as I can, and communicate with the appropriate people based upon the situation. And so I never try and make a decision in a vacuum. I run an inclusive environment. So when transitions occur, people will share with a new president, for example, perspectives on Gene Smith. And so what you try and do is create a persona, a brand that is respected among all the stakeholders that you serve. And you have to keep that in mind. The stakeholders that you serve is diverse, is broad, and you have to make sure you hold true to your values as you go through any challenge that you face.
It's important. I imagine those values, you talk about football and basketball coaches and a number of things that, especially in 16 years at one place, that you see decisions other people make that it can affect your job. Those discussions, I guess, with the stakeholders probably are tough. They're honest, but there are probably decisions that you have to deal with, but you still stick to those values that you mentioned. Would you be willing to share values that have been challenged over the time in terms of some of the stuff that has happened?
Well, I've established a long time ago, integrity is one of my highest values. So I've always shared when I'm mentoring someone or speaking that if a president or some authority, one of my supervisors ever asked me to do something that challenged my integrity, I'm out. It's just I walk. This is when I was at IBM, when I was coaching in athletic administration. I've always said that no one can take away my integrity. I own that, and my respect for people from all walks of life, and we're seeing that today. That's challenging our society more than any other time. Is respect is critical, and you and I may disagree on something, and we may get into a heavy, heated debate about that topic. But I respect your view, and we may walk away having a different view on a topic, but that doesn't mean I don't respect you as a person. And so respect is critical for me. Holding true to my faith and how I live my life with integrity, honesty, and respect for people are important to me. And then my family's in that mix, so everyone knows that I'll leave in a minute for my family. So you have to establish those things. And as with my coaches, I tell my coaches all the time, we're going to recruit talent, academic talent, athletic talent, and character. If a student athlete doesn't demonstrate the level of character that we would want representing our program, don't recruit them. I don't care how good they are. So I empower my coaches to walk away from any thing that they feel might be challenging for us to manage in our environment relative to a student athlete that might not represent our character approach. So there's a number of things in that space, and I communicate that throughout my stakeholders. Is demonstrated our metrics, our GPA of our student athletes, graduation rate, job placement, all those type of things. We say is because we stay true to who we are. And so you do that over time, you stay consistent, you don't waver, then people understand how you lead.
Two of the things you mentioned there, I hold close to vest also. One of the things you said is that, you respect people to disagree with them. I try to go into conversations, especially conversations that may be intense, or you probably disagree with the person. But I try to go into with one premise, and the first premise is that I may be wrong coming into the conversation.
Yep,
right? And
that's
so
right.
You can learn as much as possible. And the other thing is,
Stay curious. That's right. There you go.
Exactly. When I was working with Coach Taft, we would be in a meeting in a conference room with coaches or just amongst the staff, talking about something, the big convention we were having, whatever, it was very important. And if he got a call from his wife or one of his daughters, he would stop, step out, either take the call there or step out and take the call. And I watched that over the years and saw how important that was. And realistically, if I got a call in the meeting and it was my mother or my sisters, I stopped it because the leader did it. I thought, you know what, this must be important. I am not going to ignore this call for my mothers and my sisters, and they become of the utmost important to me. So I really appreciate those things that you said.
No, that's true. That's what I do too. And there's nothing more important than you taking care of yourself first and foremost. I need you to be the best you. And I tell this to my teammates all the time that I work with every day. Stay healthy. Do what you got to do to stay healthy. And then your family's a part of that. And so in that space, you have to be selfish. And we all need to look at it that you're taking care of yourself and your family. If you're worried about your family, then you're not taking care of yourself. It's circular. So it's important.
It is important. Thinking about where you've been, Eastern Michigan, Iowa State, and Arizona State, two of those three places, after you were gone, whether it be a few years later or immediately, whatever it was, they hired ADs who were people of color. And I don't know if they had before you were there, they did, but I know after you were there, it is almost like, once an institution makes that decision, they see that, it's okay to do this, and they aren't afraid to do it again. So I don't know. There's not a question there. I just appreciate that you've been kind of an elephant in leadership.
No, I think that's an opportunity that I've where I was an athletic director at Eastern Michigan at 29. I established early on the understanding And this was, back in the day in the 80s, 85. And I understood that I had a tremendous opportunity. I didn't see it as a burden. I saw it as an honor and an opportunity. If I did well, I'd be open the doors for others. And I'd be able to demonstrate that you can hire a person of color in this seat and they can do a good job. So I had that question in my career all along. You're a black athletic director. Does that add pressure to your job? And it doesn't. It really doesn't. It's an opportunity. And so I've always wanted to be the best athletic director, not the best black athletic director, the best athletic director. And so I had that passion and obviously knew that if I achieved that, then I would be opening the doors for others.
Yes, sir. And it has worked, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Now, the story goes that about 8 to 10 years ago, you told your staff that they needed to stop being so comfortable at Ohio State. And of course, Ohio State, budgets are a little bigger than other people in the country, and you can get in there and it could be a job that you value. Being that environment is probably great and you can stay there. But since that happened, since you told them they need to stop being comfortable, a number of them have gone on to become athletic directors. You think about Pat Chun and Heather Lyke and Martin Jarmond. I mean, just a number of people. I wonder if this story is true. And if it is or isn't, can you give us some insight into your staff development philosophy with regard to hiring people and helping them get ready for leadership roles?
Yeah, it's so important. When I came here, we didn't have a performance management plan, so I set that up. And one of the things that I tried to teach my supervisors at the time, the most important part of setting goals and doing evaluations is not just those things. It's the conversation with the individual to ascertain what is their professional goal, what do they want to be, and then you ultimately set up a process to help them develop the talents and skills and experiences to get them to where they want to be. So, if they're honest in that, then once they get there, they need to go chase it. And we've had a number of people who had to move on. Most recently, Tyler Jones, outstanding professional here, but he became an associate athletic director. He was, kind of really achieved so much, and there wasn't a whole lot more we could give him. And I told him, you got to go. You got to go. You got to go to a different environment. It's hard to let go of good people. But in all honesty to him, he was enjoying it here. It was comfortable. We're winning,
Right.
Everything's, but you got to go. If you want to be an AD, I can't give you any more. And so he became a deputy athletic director at Cleveland State. He's number 2 there. Someday he'll be an AD. And so that was my message years ago. And we've had people move on to be ADs, but we've had people that have left us because there's nowhere else to move up in our organization. And if you want to move up, you have to move out. And so that's hard for people, especially when you get comfortable in a beautiful place like Columbus and the program's doing well and you enjoy your job and you enjoy the people you work with. But if you want to chase your dream, sometimes you got to leave to chase it. And I remember leaving Eastern Michigan and going to Iowa State. I had never been to the state of Iowa. Mm-hmm. And, I'm a city boy. And so I'm going to the farm country. And it was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had, is learning about agriculture and all those things. And so, no, it's that I believe in that. If you want to chase your dreams, you got to make the sacrifice in order to be where you want to be. It's not where you start; it's where you end up.
Right. If you want to move up, you got to move out. I wonder about that. I wonder about through the years. It's tough, like you said, to tell somebody that is a value to your organization to move on, but it is a sacrifice to yourself to help them be better. Right?
That's right.
Did you establish that, Eastern Michigan, Iowa State, Arizona State, or is that recently in your leadership over the last, 16 to 20 years there at Ohio State?
No, I established it early on at Eastern, really late in my career at Eastern Michigan, but really crystallized at Iowa State. And, when I started as an athletic director, I was still developing my leadership skills, but I had a thirst for reading leadership books, and I read a lot of them, and that's where it really crystallized for me that You want to help. One of my big philosophies is people, the heart and soul of all that matters. You got to focus on the people. You got to help understand what's their personal and professional objectives, and it helped them achieve that. When you do that, people go to work, and so I established that early and started developing people early because people did that for me. And I think back to all the old athletic directors that a lot of people wouldn't know today. People that helped me so much, Cedric Dempsey and Delosh Dodds, and just so many of them that I just really took what they did for me, and I've done the same for others.
Yeah, which is excellent. And one more question on that topic: the program you mentioned, is it a structured? Once somebody gets hired, we drill down to your professional goals, personal goals, and over time we come back and put things in place. Talk to me a little bit about that whole program.
Yeah, so when I came in '05, we didn't have a performance management plan where we sat down with employees and established goals and objectives and evaluated them on those goals and objectives. And so once I did my reorg, I came in '05 and did my reorganization in '06. Then I taught my supervisors how to set up goals and objectives, how to evaluate people, be candid and honest, how to create the conversation. And it's in that moment when you have that conversation about what did someone want to do in life, and then you set up what we set up was employee development programs. So we would literally survey our staff. What type of sessions do you want? And so we have sessions on improving different things. So we'll invite speakers in, we'll invite faculty in, depending upon the topic. And so we have a number of different things to help people get better. And then some individuals will have a targeted approach. The most important thing is to give them experience. And I tell people all the time, we got 36 sports. Do you understand how synchronized swimming operates? You want to be an athletic director, you need to understand how these sports operate. Go watch a tennis match. Go talk to the synchronized swimming coach. Go talk to the volleyball coach. Understand how they work. So we have go work a golf invitational. So we have all these activities. But if you just operate, say, in your compliance space, and you don't take advantage of getting out and understanding how the softball coach sets up a practice plan, you're not taking advantage of the lessons that are right there that you could learn. And so we're really intentional about helping people get their experience, build their resume, and so that they ultimately can be impressive in an interview. You may end up in front of a committee where there's an equipment manager on that committee. If you've never been in the equipment room, then you're not going to impress them. Don't assume that that's just inventory control. Go meet the equipment manager. Just take 30 minutes and allow that equipment manager to tour you of their operations and how they run that operations. So we do a lot of that stuff with our people who are trying to develop, because we have the capacity to give them exposure and experience right here with everything we do.
Mm-hmm. Which makes it an excellent environment to be in. People are getting more than just a paycheck when they work.
Oh, yeah. There's no question. It's no question. I tell people, go see what the training staff does. They just don't tape ankles. When someone gets hurt, how does that work with the insurance? What's the process like? We have 22 trainers. You got plenty of trainers you can go sit down with and get an education. People will go to war for you if you demonstrate that you care and if you invest in them. And that's what we do here. We invest in the people that we're blessed to work with every day.
Thinking about your time in the chair, you've been an athletics director for a long time, and you may have touched on some of this as we've talked, but we hear that we try not to get stuck on our ways as we get older or as we evolve, right? Which is tough not to get stuck on our ways. But sometimes
that's right.
Sometimes our ways are what has made and will make us successful. I wonder about your style in terms of leadership and understanding the importance of culture. Has that evolved since the days at Eastern Michigan? And I assume it has, because if it hasn't, that means you knew everything when you first started, right?
Yeah, it has. It really has. And so you have to change with the times. You have to adjust. The John Maxwell's recent book, Leader Shift, it's a great book. It is a book that talks specifically about that. Back in the day, you said, oh, we got to have a 5-year, 10-year plan. Well, today you got to have a 6-month plan and a 1-year plan. And today our student athlete is different than what it was 10 years ago, 15 years, or 20 years ago. They're different and they have different pressures. And so you have to structurally set up an environment where you respond to that, but you also behaviorally, which gets you to your culture, set up an environment to accommodate the new student athlete and their needs and all the things they deal with. I forgot what year it was. We developed our sports psychology department, and now we have 4 full-timers. I remember sitting down saying to Urban Meyer, my God, I never thought I would be hiring sports psychologists. And it's so needed today. And in the day of a coach saying, okay, you had a bad practice, go run stadium stairs and come back, you'll be better. Those days are gone. And so you have to change. And so there's certain things that I stay true to, my values and work ethic and all those type of things. But at the end of the day, you have to adjust to the people you serve.
Right, which is very important. Well, Gene, this has been an excellent conversation. I think the value of a leader asking themselves, is working for me more than just another paycheck, shows in terms of the environment you have created there at Ohio State. And I really appreciate you joining me here on the One Question Leadership Podcast.
Well, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. I wish you all the best. And all the listeners, I wish all of them the best. Everybody stay safe.
That was Gene Smith. He's a Senior Vice President and Athletics Director at Ohio State. And of course, this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of the One Question Leadership Podcast is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.